Hey friends, I am so happy to be back. I just wanted to create a reel off of one of your comments that you guys placed on my reel that I published recently, and I thought it was such a good question. I wanted to actually take the time to answer it in a reel because it was such a good question. And the question was, do you have any tips for making sure you have the right balance between overdoing descriptions and underdoing descriptions, especially if you're afraid of overdoing descriptions and so you underdo descriptions? What I would recommend is to ask yourself, is my description serving a purpose? So if you're underdoing description, again, you're trying to limit yourself from overdoing description. But the key isn't to do less description, it's to give your description a purpose. For example, my personal writing style has a lot of description. What I try to do is to make sure that my description always serves a purpose. What do I mean by that? That means I always try to add either character depth, foreshadowing, or a thematic issue that ties into the description. Let me give you an example. So let's say we have a character who walks into a room and they see a table, okay? And we describe this table. We describe that it is smooth. We describe that it's made of wood. We describe that it has smooth table legs. The question isn't, should we describe the table? Because again, yes, the description is technically serving a purpose because it's giving a description of the room, but every description has to serve two purposes. It has to describe the surroundings or describe the character if it's a character you're describing, but it also has to add either character depth to either the character's voice if it's in first person, or kind of like describe everything from the person's perspective. So let's say they're describing the table and they say, it was a smooth table. It was too smooth for such a rough day. This is really terrible. But you see how this is adding character depth because it's describing how the character is feeling without ever saying the character is feeling pretty crummy. Foreshadowing. Let's say that this table is important in the story. Make sure that you describe certain details that will become important. This is really, really crucial for mystery in particular. And if you want to get stronger at foreshadowing through your description, read a lot of mysteries. They are excellent at this. And then again, if you want to tie a theme to this, then I would say, let's say, go back to the table example. I would say, describe the table maybe as a metaphor for something else. Let's say the table stood in the middle of the room, isolated. There was nothing around it. And maybe that's mirroring something that the character is feeling right now. Maybe it's a theme as well of like being alone or solitude or isolation, and maybe illustrate, I don't know, how maybe you realize that there are 4 legs supporting the table eventually. Maybe you'll go back to that description and you'll be like, wait a minute, but the table wasn't alone. There's always these 4 legs that are supporting the top of the table, and that's why it works. Let's say your theme is isolation or solitude or just finding friends and realizing that you're not alone. This is a very clumsy example that I'm giving you right now, but you can use this same example to illustrate a theme in your story. So again, short answer, if you are looking for tips for how to find the right balance between overdoing description and underdoing description, I would recommend that you ask yourself, is my description serving a purpose? Is it adding character depth? Is it foreshadowing? Is it tying a theme through the description? So I hope that this was super helpful. Let me know if you'd like to have a podcast episode on this, because I know that this is a complex idea and I talked about a lot right now. But yeah, I'd love to know, and let me know. I hope that this helped. Love you guys.